I want to ask you something. Something raw, something you might not even admit to yourself. How often do you feel like your focus is slipping? Like no matter how hard you try, you're stuck in a loop of distractions? You sit down to work on your business, to build your dream life, and suddenly, your phone vibrates. A scroll on Instagram, a video on TikTok, and before you know it, 2 hours are gone. But here's the part no one wants to talk about. It's not just about wasted time. It's about what's pulling you away. The truth is, many of us have let our brains get hijacked by hyper-sexualized content, by the pull of instant gratification, and by habits we never even consciously chose. I know because I've been there. Let me tell you a story. It was a few years ago. I had this massive opportunity, a pitch for an investor that could have changed the game for me. I'd prepped for weeks, stayed up late perfecting my presentation, and rehearsed it so many times I could have done it in my sleep. But when the day came, I bombed. Not because I didn't know my material, not because I wasn't prepared, but because the night before, I let myself get distracted. A few minutes of scrolling turned into hours of meaningless content, and when I woke up the next morning, I felt foggy, unfocused, and full of shame. That was the moment I realized something had to change. If you've ever felt that way, if you've ever looked at yourself in the mirror and thought, why can't I just stop? Then stick with me, because today I'm going to show you exactly how I turned it all around. First, let's take a step back. Let's talk about why this is happening to so many of us. We're living in a world our brains weren't built for. Think about this. Just 100 years ago, people had to actively seek out information, images, and experiences. But today, we're surrounded by a constant flood of hypersexualized media. From Instagram to TV ads to the movies we watch, everything is designed to trigger one thing: dopamine. That's the chemical in your brain that makes you feel good when you experience pleasure. And while dopamine is great in moderation, the problem is that these platforms have figured out how to exploit it. Every image, every like, every scroll is designed to give you a little hit of dopamine, pulling you deeper into a cycle of consumption. Over time, this overstimulation rewires your brain, making it harder to focus, harder to connect with others, and harder to feel satisfied by the things that truly matter: your goals, your relationships, your growth. I didn't realize how deep I was in this cycle until that failed pitch. After that day, I started paying attention to my habits. I noticed how often I reached for my phone when I was stressed, how much time I spent watching meaningless videos, and, worst of all, how disconnected I felt from my own goals. It wasn't just about wasting time, it was about what I was losing: my focus, my drive, my ability to be present with the people I cared about. And that's when I started asking myself some hard questions. Why was I letting these distractions control me? Why was I giving my time and my brain away to things that didn't serve me? And most importantly, how could I take it all back? To understand why this is so difficult, we need to look at history. Back in the 1920s, companies discovered something revolutionary. They could sell more products by appealing to emotions, especially desire. This was the birth of modern advertising. Over the decades, this strategy evolved into the hypersexualized marketing we see today. But here's the thing: our brains haven't evolved nearly as fast. We're still wired like our ancestors, who lived in a world of scarcity and survival. That means we're naturally drawn to anything that feels pleasurable or exciting. In the past, that might have been a rare piece of food or the chance to build a meaningful connection. But today, those instincts are being hijacked by endless content that offers no real value. The result? We're overstimulated, overwhelmed, and unable to focus on the things that truly matter. So there I was, stuck in this cycle. My business was suffering, my relationships were suffering, and most of all, I was suffering. But then I had a realization: if my brain could be rewired to work against me, it could also be rewired to work for me. And that's when everything started to change. Imagine this: waking up in the morning with a clear mind, sitting down to work and getting lost in a state of deep focus, feeling connected to the people around you, not distracted, not anxious, just present. That's not a fantasy. That's what happens when you take control of your brain. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. It all comes down to 3 steps: reclaim, retrain, and redefine. Step 1. Reclaim your inputs. The first step is to clean up what you're feeding your brain. Think of your mind like a garden. If you keep planting weeds, distractions, hypersexualized content, meaningless entertainment, that's what will grow. But if you plant the right seeds, knowledge, inspiration, meaningful connections, you'll start to see real growth. Start by auditing your social media. Unfollow accounts that don't serve you. Replace them with ones that inspire you, whether it's business leaders, fitness experts, or creators who share valuable insights. I'll be honest, this step isn't easy. At first, you'll feel the pull to go back, but every time you choose growth over distraction, you're training your brain to crave the right things. Step 2, retrain your focus. This is where the real work begins. One of the most powerful tools I've discovered is meditation. Now I know what you're thinking. Meditation isn't for me. I used to think the same thing. But meditation isn't about sitting in silence for hours. It's about training your brain to focus, to pause before reacting, to regain control. Start small, just 5 minutes a day. Sit somewhere quiet, close your eyes, and focus on your breathing. When your mind starts to wander, and it will, gently bring it back. Over time, you'll notice a huge difference. You'll feel calmer, more focused, and more in control of your thoughts. Step 3, redefine your goals. Finally, you need to anchor yourself in something bigger. Ask yourself, what are you working toward? What's your why? For me, it was building a business that would give me freedom and fulfillment. For you, it might be something different. Whatever it is, write it down. Keep it visible. And when temptation strikes, when you feel the pull of distraction, look at that goal and remind yourself of what's at stake. Because here's the truth. Every time you say no to a distraction, you're saying yes to your future. 6 months after I started this journey, my life looked completely different. I was more focused than I'd ever been. My business was thriving. My relationships were deeper and more meaningful. But the best part? I felt free. Free from the constant pull of distractions. Free to create, to connect, to grow. And that's what I want for you. So here's my challenge. Take the first step today. Unfollow one account that's holding you back. Meditate for 5 minutes. Write down your why. These aren't massive changes, but they're the start of something huge. Because this isn't just about desexualizing your brain. It's about reclaiming your life, your focus, your potential, your future. Your brain is your greatest asset. Protect it, nurture it, reclaim it.